Christian, it's such an honor to connect with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor.
You and I were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and you mentioned the pretenses of being here, being on this earth plane. I'd love to start our conversation about what we're maybe forgetting about this human experience.
What we're forgetting about it, it's I find that it's often more what we've forgotten in it, into it.
Mm,
We've created so much form,
yeah.
so much belief, so much convention, so much expectation, so much definition that we've applied. And then we normalize it, and then it's like the way we do things.
Mm,
Okay, so but like consciousness itself, spirit itself, to get right into it, we transcend all of the form. We give rise to it. We apply the meaning. So our true nature is so expansive and so full of love and joy and peace and freedom. And we often lose sight of that in the convention.
mm.
Yeah,
Do you feel we have to lower our vibration to even come into this reality?
very much so. Yes. Yeah, so in my pre-birth experience, I I can't describe with enough strong language the depth of the vibrational drop
Mm,
that we agree that we undertake through veiling to be incarnate, to be physical. Very real, very jarring, very visceral, huge vibrational distance. I mean, I also don't want to make it sound like duality. So I guess just one quick disclaimer I always have to say there's no language for what we're trying to describe here. So I don't mean to inappropriately narrow this down to some language. But in simple terms, vibrationally, if our true nature is total connectedness and peace and freedom and joy and knowing and power, then as we agree to take on the limitations of the biology and of the physical experience overall, the whole everything, the whole experience of our universe that we wear, there's a huge vibrational step down
mm.
into that experience. It's like a Grand Canyon sized vibrational step.
Yeah. And you mentioned, kind of all the rules or our beliefs that we take on or perhaps adapt to being here, and our true nature being so incredibly expansive.
Yes.
What would it be like if we had more of a felt sense of that on a day to day?
It would be love and freedom and peace. So like okay, so one way we can think about this is the thing that's extreme about Earth is the limitation level. It's not actually negative inherently. It's just very limiting. Linear time, discrete location, all the limitations of biology, all the physics, it's a very limiting, well-defined, dense experience.
Mm,
But then what happens is that has because it's so limiting, that has the opportunity to provoke fear, our rejection of it. And in our fear, ego has arisen and we've created all sorts of layers of convention and us versus them thinking and beliefs that are not in alignment with love, right? So that's what we've done because we have fear. We try to protect the self. We try to like, oh my gosh, I don't like this separation that I'm experiencing now. What do I do? I'm gonna grab some power now and hurt the person next to me. And then we've done this for thousands of years and institutionalized certain behaviors and beliefs in our systems, in our societies, in our religions. So what would it be like if we were more our true selves? We would be letting go of the false, the unreal associations and moving closer to our true nature, the nature of consciousness itself, which is total love and
mm.
freedom. So we can actually actualize that here on earth. And if we do, as we choose love and freedom and joy and authenticity more and more, that will become more and more actualized in ways here on earth. Because like the thing that's real is consciousness, not even the physical. So as consciousness changes, as it chooses love and as it integrates and processes fear out, like
Mhm.
as we grow past it and heal past it, the thing that's real is consciousness. And so then its vibration increases. That just means we've integrated the low and we're moving back towards what we really are. And in this place. And that is a shift towards that love and that peace and that joy in consciousness. And consciousness is first. So whatever we do in ourselves, then that will be what we shine and actualize into the world.
Yes, that's so beautifully expressed. I want to get into your
Yeah.
pre-birth remembrance in a minute, but um,
Yeah.
from your vantage point, do you feel like we're moving towards an expanded sense of consciousness as a collective?
Yes. Yeah, we definitely are. So, okay, so like, there's different terms for it, but the awakening is an okay term. It just means the human race as a collective is going through a great shift right now. We are in the process of working through and integrating a lot of that old garbage, the old fear-based stuff that's been so deeply rooted. And that processing of that fear, like I mentioned, is a growth towards joy and freedom and an actualization of it. And so the awakening is that shift in consciousness that we are undertaking right now. In my pre-birth experience, I remember knowing, I was born in 1980, and I remember knowing, just very matter of fact, like it was just like the act of the play that the human race and that the earth as a whole actually was entering back then. And now we're kind of in the thick of it here. But
Yeah,
that was the awakening. It was like the awakening was just like, I mean, it's just a word we use. It doesn't, it doesn't need a word, but it was just seen and known. Oh, this is the awakening. Wow. We were really trying to process a lot in one or two or three or five generations. I mean, it's a lot,
it's
and so
happening.
it's happening. And so now, like the vibration now compared to even like 10 or 20 years ago, which is a very short amount of time,
Mhm.
is significantly different.
Do you feel like that catalyzes greater fear coming to the surface to be looked at, to be healed, to be released?
Yeah, I wouldn't say greater fear, but yes, it's true that the higher vibration we go, the more that the lower vibrational stuff that's still in the basement has to be pulled up
Mm,
because it's dissonant. It doesn't resonate. So it's like prompted to the surface. It's one of the reasons why we see so much friction on the surface right now, actually. I mean, we always see friction on the surface. We're actually in a much more evolved place than we were as a species, even 50 or 100 years ago, or even 10 or 20 years ago. But we have so much fear history. We have so much crap in the basement that as we raise in vibration, yes, it's like called up to be processed. And that means it has to be seen, felt, faced. Like this is real experience integration we're doing here, not just like play on the side. Like we are really getting our hands in the middle of an actualized physical experience. And that means the friction may have to be actualized, not have to be, but we may actualize certain fear-based patterns so that we can process them and heal them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like to your point in sharing, those memories are so deeply ingrained, and just the experience of being pregnant right now, it brings up just this idea of how, there's so much that's imprinted perhaps in the womb experience that maybe that we're not fully even in awareness of, but the emotions and, trauma or
Mm.
joy, whatever the case may be. I mean, I feel like there's so much that's just picked up in those, formative experience months prior to incarnating. Would you say from your experience that has
Well,
been
I wouldn't say, yeah, I would differentiate the incarnation versus birth because in my case, I incarnated quite a time before birth, in the womb
okay?
for a long time before I was born. At
What do
least that's
you
how
mean
it,
by that?
I mean, I don't know how old my body was.
Mm,
Um, I would guess 10 or 12 weeks, maybe 14 weeks. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but I know that I incarnated while the body was still very early in its stages, and I felt like I was in the womb for a long time. So I was having conscious experience in the womb before I was born.
wow.
Like I had incarnated before. And I don't know for everyone. I've heard, and it feels true to me that incarnation can happen at any point during pregnancy or even at birth or even shortly after birth. But
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it was definitely early. It was you know, it wasn't close to birth. At least it's how it felt.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you feel like many, if not all, babies incarnate with a remembrance of realities other than the earth plane and then forget over time?
Yeah. So, okay. So first of all, we are all on the other side already. So we all at the deepest levels already know all of what we are. Just clarifying that because I don't want to make it sound like we're like truly locked in here. But meanwhile, yes. So the incarnation process itself is a commitment into the limitation set and into the veil. However, practically speaking, what makes the veil so effective is that we become focused into, associated into the forms of life. And young children, babies, are not yet. Like they're just getting sensory experience and they're just starting to learn, you know? So they are definitely much more free to come and go because while they're still veiled, they're not so deeply associated into form yet. So it's quite normal and natural for them to kind of return and, you know, come in and out. That's very normal. But by the time we get to be like, I don't know, 5 or something years old, maybe earlier, you know, now we know who we are and we're
Yeah.
focused on the thinking, we're focused on the story, we're focused on the bodily experience. And that focus has kind of cemented, I guess we could say, the experience of being veiled.
I love how you describe that. And so from that perspective, then we could at really at any time widen our awareness, our sense
Yes.
of consciousness, and really tap into multiple realities.
Yes. Yes. The metaphor I like to use is we're always in the movie theater watching the movie, and you might get really lost in the movie, like staring at the screen really hard, you know? The screen here, like the images on the screen that we are focusing on here are all of our thoughts and all of the sense data, all of the story, who I am. That's what we get lost with. But if we take time, it's meditation,
Mm.
to return our focus back to what we really are, let go of the thinking and return to alertness, actually. It's a full alertness. Then we may naturally, without even trying, at least it's how I've experienced it, suddenly have portions of our larger self just rise up because they were always there. So
Mhm.
it's more like we put down what we're not rather than going and getting something new.
Yeah,
It's like stopping, not looking at the screen anymore. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm in the movie theater. Like I was never actually in the movie, you know, like,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was through a meditative experience that triggered your remembrance of your pre-birth experience and planning. Is that correct?
Yes. So I had pre-birth memory up until the age of about 5 or 6. That left me completely at the age of 5 or 6, roughly. So I had no memory of that at all for most of my early adult life. My body is 44 right now, but when I was 30, I took up a long-term meditation practice. I meditated for maybe 40 or 60 minutes a day, every day for, well, years. But it started as if after a few months, I had my first non-physical experience, and it was super eye-opening. I wasn't expecting anything, but it was really shocking, not subtle.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm just curious,
yeah,
what activated or what inspired you to begin your meditation practice at the age of 30?
yeah. So I've always been a spiritual seeker, but in my early adult life, it took the form of Lutheran Christianity. But at the time, I was beginning to watch videos from the consciousness explorer Tom Campbell. He's a physicist who also is an out-of-body traveler.
Mhm.
And, you know, at first I was like, wow, this is really out there, you know, but I just like felt this nudge to like kind of keep with it.
Mhm.
And one of the most important things he said is just go investigate. Go investigate your consciousness beneath thought. Just go look. Don't make anything up. Be a scientist. Go, go see. And at first, so the first time I meditated, I remember it was like 10 minutes. I think I was out on the hammock in my backyard. And at first, after 10 minutes of meditating, like he recommended a simple exercise. I mean, for me, it wasn't about like discovering anything. It was just, oh, I felt better. Like I felt relief because I didn't even know how painful and anxiety provoking being lost in thought all the time can be. I didn't know like there's this little tiny bit of peace that that's all it was to start, little tiny bit of peace.
Yeah.
So then I just continued at first just because, oh wow, this feels better. Like I feel like I'm clear, I'm more energy. This is interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got started with it. And then but then once I had the first non-physical experience, it was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like this is real. It's not like made up. Like it was more real than the lucid waking human
Wow.
type experience. So I was like, yeah, like I gotta keep going because like it's like discover, I don't know. Like when I first discovered this, I was so impassioned to like share it with everybody. And I've quickly discovered not everybody is ready to hear that they're actually a multidimensional being having a human
Sure.
experience. I'm a down to earth type person. I'm a working professional. So like I didn't share actually for the first like 8 years or so.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, I don't want to be that guy. And I thought about sharing it in a certain way, and I didn't till about the age of 38 or so. But I did start to receive chunks of what I knew would be a book. So I began to record that, and that has come through, and it's now available, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Did you discover that that was really connected to a part of your purpose and intention in incarnating here?
So I feel, not to be nebulous, but I feel that I'm not really supposed to talk too much about any connection I might know to what I'm doing here. I just know that I'm excited to be a part of the awakening process in whatever small way. It's an exciting time to be on Earth. My pre-birth planning was primarily around a personal, um, how do I describe it? I have a personal soul interest to process and integrate a certain fear that in the past has been very difficult for me. So that's the primary intention for this life, was
Yeah.
to experience this one specific weak leg fear and really get into it like real deep, man, and process that and heal it. And that's my primary mission, so to speak. But we're like very complex beings. Souls are not single faceted here.
Right.
So we do a lot with a given life. I don't mean to make it sound oversimplified either, because it's not. Each life is a rich, rich set of opportunities.
Mm.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like themes carry over from lifetime to lifetime?
Yeah, they very much can carry over. It depends on the individual and it depends on what we're working through.
Mhm.
I mean, the simplest way to put that is you are you. Like, so if you go have one experience over here or another experience over here, you're still you. Like, so of course you take with you what you are.
Mhm.
And that is one of the main things we are doing, when we come into this deep and veiled human experience. It's like, we're exploring a portion of ourselves and growing in a certain personal way, and that's in a way that's very meaningful for us as an individual, as a soul. And that is something we retain. Like there's elements of the experience that are local, like limitations of the biology or even your sex. That's specific to this experience, but you as a being, you as a soul,
Mhm.
you definitely retain with you qualities, your state of evolution, you could say, to put it crudely.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
frequency, your signature frequency with that.
I'm sorry you broke up. There was a bit of an internet glitch there.
Yeah. So like the way I think of it is sort of like your signature frequency, and
Yes.
that being a match for vibrationally what you call in, whether it's relationships or certain experiences.
Yeah. So we have a unique individual soul frequency that we always recognize of each other. It's like a unique pitch, sound, color. But then we are each very complex beings, not only at the soul level, but then the human, there's a lot of unique things going on. So we're more like soundboards producing hundreds of pitches all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's like a core pitch that we always are, but there's all the pitches, like all the thoughts that we're kind of holding on to, all the intentionality we're holding on to, all the fear that we've locked, things we've locked away, all of our wishes, our expectations. Expectation alone is a big
Mm.
vibrational
Say
driver.
more about that.
Yeah. So the physical reality tends to, okay. So we live in a super dense reality. So it's not like it doesn't appear obvious that we can manifest things. Like it may not appear quickly. But even though it's super dense, reality has no choice but to respond to the pushing of consciousness. Let's put it
Mm.
to you that way.
Yeah.
So wherever we're pushing, reality has to respond to one degree or another. And expectation is a form of pushing.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if you expect to get something, you tend to get it in general.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe not even in the form you expect. And also, by the way, usually what we expect is not about like an object or a circumstance. Usually we're expecting some kind of perception of outcome, like a negative or a positive like feeling,
Hmm.
like shame. I expect that I have no worth, so I expect I will be, you know,
Such.
disempowered or treated poorly, like, and then not only do circumstances tend to arise to support that, but then we put that same meaning on the neutral circumstances too, because that's what we're holding on to. So it's kind of like a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It works in the positive direction too, though. Like it's like we're always nudging reality all the time.
Yeah. And how do we begin to shift that for ourselves so our experience begins to change?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a master, but I would say that one key element is go towards the fear.
Mm,
Like, okay, so that sounds backwards, right? Because we want to focus positive, and indeed, choosing a positive focus is very powerful. It is one of the main things that we have the authority to do here. I'm not making light at all of the power and value of choosing positive focus no matter the circumstance. That's very important. But
mhm.
meanwhile, because we're a soundboard producing hundreds of pitches, if we've got fear that we're holding on to, it is beneficial to go find it. And then find the negative self-perception that's down locked away in there that's causing the gunk.
Mhm.
And even though it's terrifying, if you're ready, you don't have to do this, but it's powerful to do this, to go and face that crap and find the negative self-perception that is so terrifying. Because like at the bottom of every fear that we experience, there's some negative self-perception that is not in alignment with the truth.
Yes.
It's not in alignment with who you really are. That's why it provokes fear. Like if you perceive I am powerless, that provokes fear because you are absolutely powerful multidimensional being and a part of source itself. You can't be powerless.
Yeah.
But if you perceive I'm powerless, I'm just pulling out that one because that's like an element of the fear I'm here to experience in this life. If you can perceive that, then that provokes fear because, oh my gosh, I don't like that. That's the opposite, right?
Mhm.
But if we can go into that, find the negative self perceptions that got stuck and actually face them, feel them, look at them, work with them, listen to the message they're delivering, be willing to feel.
Mhm.
As we choose that willingness, wield that intention. See, it's all about quality of intention. We choose loving over fear-based intention and really go into that shadow work is the new age term, then we can, it vanishes not because we're trying to get rid of it. We're actually not trying to get rid of it. We're just willing now. We're willing to see who we are. We're willing to see what we're afraid of. We're willing to feel what we weren't willing to feel before.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's so powerful. And when we do that, that tends to alchemize, transmute that stuck gunky energy, and then that frees it. And because that's free, then the manifestation automatically comes from the true nature of what we are, which is love and
Yes.
peace and joy. So that's a long answer to your question, but it's actually useful to go into the gunk. Yeah.
I love that. I love how you describe that. One question that I have for you is how much of that fear can be related to past life experiences? And it sounds like my second part of that question is, sometimes there's this perception of like, I have to do all of
Hmm.
this past life healing and clearing, and it's going to take lifetimes. And, how much is that true versus, the
Hmm.
alchemization and witnessing in order to help dissipate?
Well, I think they're actually the same because the previous life experiences that might get stuck, that's still just perceptions that you entertained in a different context. It actually doesn't even matter so much that it was a different body or a different race. I know that sounds like crazy, but no, you're the same you. So if you dealt with something then that was difficult for you, it may take another form in this life.
Mhm.
You know, the way it's presented itself or the thing that stimulated that perception may be quite different, but it's still the same fear if there's a fear to be processed. So, like in my case, the fear that I'm here to process is vibrationally something like I'm unable to escape agony, and I'm like unwilling to, like I'm too proud to suffer, and I'm powerless. It's like a mix of
Do you remember
those energies. And so I was just going to say that, like, I know I experienced that same fear in a previous physical life when I was a human woman who had given birth, and in my case the birth was painful. Not setting any expectations for your own beautiful birth coming up, but in my previous experience, the birth was painful, and then I was pregnant a second time, and I know this sounds crazy, by the way. I know how that sounds, but I was pregnant a second time, and I remember having the same exact fear because I knew that that pain was coming.
Mm,
Like I couldn't avoid it. I couldn't escape the impending nature of this experience coming.
yeah,
So in this life, it's taken more of the form of certain health challenges and certain sensitivities that I deal with that like nobody else has that just cause me a lot of pain. Um, that's okay. I'm just saying it's a different, like the way it's expressed is different, but the
right.
root vibration that I'm working through is the same.
And the fear is of facing the agony of that physical pain, would you say, or would you describe it differently?
Yeah, the fear is actually fear is actually a negative self-perception that we run away from. So it's the perception itself that I can't escape pain that is so terrifying. So the way to face that fear is to allow and accept and actually accept powerlessness. Like I know that sounds backwards.
Fascinating.
Actually, the first time that I walked into I had post-traumatic stress after a health challenge when I was 22 that was related to why I came. It's very difficult for me. And so I went through years of EMDR therapy, and the therapist's office, she had a chalkboard, and behind her on the chalkboard was written a sentence that at the time just like pissed me off. It just stimulated my ego because I thought it was just BS. I thought it was just fluffy sounding BS. But I found it's actually like literally the truth here. And the sentence was power lies in accepting powerlessness.
Mm.
I mean, it was written on her board the day I went in there. It's like,
Yeah.
but honestly, like, and for years resisted that. And when I say accept powerlessness, that means like actually accepting, not like, oh, I don't really like it. I'm gonna try to stick my toe in and hopefully, but I really don't like it. No, it means if I'm sick, fully accepting being sick. If I'm in pain, accepting the pain.
Mm.
It's okay, like because that is how we process and face the fear. And then, of course, then once we do that, the pressure on the dam vanishes. So the circumstance tends to vanish. It tends to clear up, tends to heal. But anyway, it
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
matter that it doesn't matter that happens. We accept it anyway. We accept it. We work to accept the present moment. That's a very simple way to put it. We just accept what's here.
yeah, I feel like that's one of the most powerful lessons is in surrender. And there might be, a notion that we can somehow control, but just in allowing and having faith and trusting, you know, life
Yeah.
unfolding, there is so much power to be found.
Yeah, there's this little cheat that like is not going to be easy to remember when the times are hard, but it's actually true. The universe is not your enemy. Life is not your enemy. It's not. Even if you have terrible pain, even if something terrible just happened, it's not your enemy. So like, how are you making it an enemy? Like we're the ones that turn against it and say, no, I don't like that. No, I reject that. That's fear. That's ego rejection, you
So,
know.
do you perceive every experience that the universe presents us with sort of an answer to our pre birth focus in a sense of helping us to grow, evolve, recognize the unlimited beings that we are?
Well, it's not every experience. This system is not like be careful with the language here. It's not perfect, I would say, in the way. It's a really good. Life will use everything for the benefit. I just mean that, yes, in general, we sign up for a life context, and then the life context has a very high probability of repeatedly offering to us the thing that we have signed up for. Like we came for that, like we pre-review life, the physical incarnation. So we know what the opportunities are. And we're very intentional about that. I know we don't remember. It's like one of the big names of the game is we choose to forget. That's like the name of the game here. But still, even so, we fully review and know in incredible detail what possibilities there are for the life. It's not like destiny, fate, 100% every single thing. But it is extremely thorough, millions and millions and millions. I mean, I reviewed millions of possibilities of what might happen and what it would feel like to be me.
Mm.
And I knew that when I got to my early adulthood around the age of 22, I would probably be crushed by health trauma. And it would push me far past what I'd ever experienced in this certain fear direction. Like I knew that. And I was so excited. Actually, I know it sounds like it's not masochism. It's not masochism. But it was exciting because, okay, because from that point of view, we know how powerful we are. We know we can't fail. We
Mhm.
can't die. We can't actually be harmed. I know that
You're
doesn't
like,
seem like
this
that
is
here.
perfect.
So I knew that it was going to be a big piece of sandwich to bite off. I mean, we can see, and then the guides sometimes are the ones who are like, okay, I think you're biting off a too big of a piece of sandwich here. Just like back it off a little bit. Like, because we are the ones often who are
Ambition.
so ambitious, who want to say, no, I want to, because we see the absolutely incredible amount of personal and collective expansion that is possible. The expansion of the love and the joy and the power and the freedom of being, right? We see that. It is so amazing, the opportunity of being human, and especially the experiences of high contrast.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know the ego doesn't like that. Okay. So, like, I'm not, like, I know the ego's not going to like that, but I'm just trying to lift up, though, that the value of what we're doing here. Like, that, I'm so passionate about that. I just want to lift up the value of this dense, rigorous contrast. I know it can be very hard. Oh my gosh. I know. I feel it every day. But the opportunity nonetheless is it's off the charts. It's like being given the chance to play a human is like winning the lottery. Like
Mm.
that's how it felt. It was so valuable.
Because there's so much preparation, is it challenging to incarnate here? I mean, what talk to us a little bit more about
Yeah.
the journey.
Well, I can say at least that the soul has to be, well, two things. The soul has to be willing. Like we have to want to do it. It
Yeah,
sounds simple enough, but that's not obvious,
it's not
because
easy,
like
right?
it's not, no, yeah, because a lot of beings are not going to choose to do this. This is really extreme sports we're doing here. So not everyone wants to like go to Mount Everest is the example I like to use. Not everybody climbs Mount Everest. I don't need to do that.
Right.
Um, but here we are the beings who are brave enough to come this deeply into separation. It's like climbing Mount Everest. So there has to be interest. But the second thing is there has to be a certain level of, I don't know what the language is, soul proficiency.
Mhm.
Like we have to be evolved enough. I don't like the language. We have to be ready, basically,
Okay.
for an experience of this temperature.
Love. Yeah.
Like you don't go the first time you go out in the cold, you don't go out into -50. The first time you might do something a little lighter than that. I'm just,
Did you incarnate somewhere else potentially, or?
yes, yes. There are many different universe type experiences, and there are many different veiled experiences.
Mhm.
Our universe is extreme in its sense of separation and forgetting.
And do you feel like that is a part of our collective mission at this time, is to create a less polarized environment?
Yes, but that's just an after effect. It's not that, okay, because like the whole thing is a simulation, really. So it's not like we say, oh, we really want to like create. these objects instead of these objects. We can do that in the non-physical at will with in thought responsive realities anyway. No, it's more like we want to process and integrate all that depth, all that mighty depth.
Mm.
And then through that, we expand, we grow, and we are able to actualize the love and the peace and the joy here. We will actualize it. Like love and peace and joy and freedom is the truth. It's the real power. It's the thing that's real. So, yes, we seek to process the depths of contrast such that we can shine that here, make that real here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many questions. So, how often, you said sometimes we're overly ambitious. How often is that the case where we plan a lifetime that's, way beyond,
Mhm.
or, you know, is it possible to even transcend our pre-birth plan and really advance and grow in ways that we
Mhm.
perhaps didn't even imagine prior to
Yeah,
incarnate?
that is possible. Um, okay. I don't want to make it sound like pre-birth planning is like 100%. This is the thing that's going to happen, and good luck. There you are.
Yeah.
We sign up for a limitation set, and then we seek to utilize it in the most optimal way. And optimum means love and freedom and peace and joy. So the reason I'm putting it like that is because it's not like there's some outcome that's preordained for, I mean, sometimes there are very likely outcomes, or some with the body that has a limitation where that limitation is just built in. It's just part of the starting point. But what we do is we seek to do our best with what we're given and to shine through it. Now, do we pick opportunity sets that might overwhelm us? Yes. We might get overcome. We might get overcome in the short term, in the short term meaning one lifetime.
Yeah.
We might get overcome because we are trying something very challenging here. This is not like we're actually doing this, guys. I mean, look, we're here, we're human, we're really doing it. We're really eating and paying the bills and experiencing the diseases and watching the people around us die. Like we're doing it. Okay. Like, so now that we're doing it, now what do we choose? And it is possible that we may respond in fear, maybe more fear than we originally anticipated. It may be that somebody else makes a choice that affects our lives in a way that was not likely or maybe even unanticipated.
Mhm.
And now we have to deal with it. See, that's part of the value of this simulation is that we don't know exactly. Like we have really good foresight. We can predict millions of possible outcomes with very high probability. But everyone is making free will choices every second.
Right.
And so someone might come in and alter your life, and now you have to deal with it. Like now you got to make new choices, and maybe that wasn't exactly foreseen as super pertinent to the plan. Okay, now you got to make new choices. That's part of the game.
Yeah, it's like infinite timelines colliding.
Yeah, so I like to talk about it as one actualized thread and many, many trillions of unactualized
Hmm.
outcomes that
Hmm.
are retained. They're all retained in the records, but there's one where we're like actually making the choices and weaving through all the possibilities. Yeah.
Do you look at this lifetime as a continuation of all of your lifetimes, or?
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's one you, and the one you is in the one now.
Mhm.
And in all, so yes, it's all one thing. Like there isn't actually a separation at all. Like we have the experience of separation here. So we like to think beginning, end. I'm over here, you're over there. I'm young, you're old. That's how we think in this duality rich environment. But that whole duality set is non-fundamental. It's something that's arisen within that which is fundamental, which is consciousness itself. And that consciousness itself has no boundaries. It's much more full and complete and connected than what we could even possibly conceive of with our very discrete thinking. Okay.
Mhm.
So yes, the one life, much richer, deeper, unit occurring tapestry, you could say. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, I am so curious. I know you have children.
Yeah.
What do you teach your kids about the rules of this universe?
So I try to focus on love and on respecting them as the powerful beings that they are and giving them choice.
Mm,
And sometimes my wife lovingly reminds me, you have to teach them. They're young. They don't know yet. I'm like, oh yeah, they don't know yet because I tend to feel them as the powerful beings they are.
Did you
But
get
meanwhile,
downloads about their pre-birth plans at all?
so I don't have any specific knowledge about their pre-birth plans. I did have one non-physical experience where I briefly interacted with my son, who he really is, what he really is, that really helped me to understand what he's doing. I don't know exactly, but I like have a sense about his nature.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I try to like I mean I share about this very openly every day now. Now that I'm out of the closet and I'm sharing on this type of stuff a lot.
Yeah,
And the book has reached many people. Like now this is like a common daily topic. I mean, I talk with pre-birth experiencers or near-death experiencers like every week.
yeah.
So for my kids, it's a very normal household conversation, and to them, they're just like ready to go do their teenage, life with their friends. This is normal to them. They don't think it's exceptional in any way. It's just, oh, yeah, we know we're not human, Dad. We're gonna go play now. It's fine. That's what we're here to do. Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, are there like I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, these topics come up in conversation around how expansive we are and
Yeah.
really letting go of perhaps limitations.
Yes. Yeah. My wife and I both try to point out the limitations that seem so real that aren't. And we also try to point out in others because when other people treat them poorly, it's usually out of their own fear or their own pain, the other person's pain. So we try to lift up like why things are happening in a more like aware way, hopefully. And I think that there's been some understanding there because I just a few weeks ago, my daughter had a friend that she had a fallout with a friend. And I remember her saying something like, well, you know what? I'm really sad, but I understand that she's really just hurting and she's looking, and she wasn't just regurgitating back to me what we said. Like I could tell she got it. She's like, she's just hurting.
Yeah.
She's blamed me for this thing. It's not me and I hurt, but it's okay. I'll move on. I'm like, holy crap. Like,
Oh,
yes, that's beautiful.
profound.
Like, oh, man. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm curious to ask you, and you don't have to answer this, but there was something that you said that was just like, recognizing your mission, but not fully wanting to share what it is. Is that because of the sacredness of it?
Yeah, I don't mean to be mysterious. I'm not claiming I'm anybody special at all. I just know that I'm just saying that I had some awareness that I might be participating in this way.
Hmm.
And that's it. And I just know that I've been nudged not to talk about it too directly. And
Hmm.
that's all. But we're all participate like I'm not special, okay? This is what we're all doing. This is an exciting time to be on Earth. I knew it was going to be an exciting time to be on Earth and to participate and hopefully to participate in the awakening process. Like, there's nothing cooler, man. Like, what corner of the universe is cooler
Yeah,
than like being in the dense, rich, crazy kindergarten of Earth and like trying to like get our stuff straight in the middle of the chaos, man, and love each other and find our own joy and authenticity in the midst of all this craziness. Like,
yeah.
it's a beautiful opportunity.
Because how
Yeah.
much of a ripple effect does what happens here now on Earth have into the universe and beyond?
Mm. There is a substantial ripple effect for multiple reasons. One is that we, as individuals and the collective, are connected to the whole. So think of, okay, like if all that is an ocean, the human race is like a pond inside the ocean that's doing something specific at a certain vibrational place. And it's doing a very loud, noisy, tumultuous but powerful chunk of work. I don't know what language to use. And so as it does that, it causes ripple effects out in other reality systems. I'll just, not to sound too crazy, but I'll just say one example, what we call the astral plane, which is just level reality systems that are thought responsive. The astral is even vaster than the physical that say it gives rise to this local system in part. And that place is full of thought form. Just this is just a simple example. Thought form meaning objects that are thoughts. So every concept, every object, like everything that we work through here, we are co-creating, you could say. There's like a consciousness facilitation back and forth, up and down. Again, I don't mean to make this sound like duality, and this is difficult to describe, but consciousness is connected at these different levels. So we, as an example, might entertain a new thought, or we might see something in a new way, or we might appreciate something in a new way, or we might even have a concept. Like we might come up with a conception that is like a new way that all that is has ever conceived of something. And that will inform the astral and create there automatically,
Okay.
as an example. And vice versa. Like there's creations in the higher realms that vibration, like we can't help but be connected, even though there's a huge vibrational distance. We are being influenced. Like our guides are with us all the time. They're always giving us little bumps, nudges. My wife and I are reading a book right now about guidance from higher realms. It's very interesting. And so I'm just saying that there is that interplay, and that's just one example.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great example. I want to go back to something that you said, which is, we're doing it right now. I mean, this is such
Yeah.
an exciting time to be on Earth. And for anybody that's listening, that's like, yes, I feel the excitement, but I also feel quite overwhelmed at all the chaos that's being stirred to the surface. What advice would you have?
So I find it's extremely important that we take time, like we actually have to do this to, well, the verb we use is meditate, but take time to put down all the important thoughts, the overwhelming thoughts, all the musts, all the need tos. Just give yourself permission for 20 minutes or for 40 minutes. I'm just not going to focus on that, and pick something neutral to focus on in your mind instead.
Mm,
This may not sound related, but it is related because what you do, like if you just pick, for instance, a shape, like a square, and you focus your intention entirely on the shape, if you can envision objects in your mind.
mhm,
I understand some people can't, so you can pick a different object to focus if you can't imagine a square. But whatever it is, you pick a neutral object, focus on it and then you'll be thinking about lunch. And then you bring your attention back. And then you're thinking about, oh, am I meditating? That's okay. Bring the attention back. And what you're doing is you're wielding your intention to choose to focus on something neutral, and that is changing the momentum of the thoughts. Okay, you don't even know you're doing that, but in this now moment, by choosing something else, you're interrupting the flow and changing the momentum, and eventually you can let go of the object. Don't do this too soon. I recommend committing to time every day, even without any judgment of the result. But after a while, you can let go of the object of focus and focus entirely on your aliveness,
mm,
entirely on the quality of your mind itself, entirely on the feeling of aliveness in your body, which actually the body is in the aliveness, not the other way around. But anyway, you can really deeply just be with it. And the reason that's so important is because what you're doing is you're just pausing all the important movie screen attention and creating a ledge of peace for yourself. And then this beautiful power can rise up. It can start as the tiniest little glimmer of peace or rest. And then or maybe joy, just a flicker. And then if you really feel it, the ego is going to be like, oh my gosh, that was so good. I got to go back and get that again, as if you did something. Don't worry about that. But by creating that little opening of space, what you're doing is you're creating a channel of power, actually, from which you can then see the craziness of the physical much more clearly. You can see your own thoughts much more clearly for what they really are versus what they're not.
Mhm.
And that really creates a space of power from which we can operate. So that's just one specific thing, but I found that to be invaluable. I will say, of course, that many people are not willing. It's okay, it's their choice, but they're not willing to spend 40 minutes a day for 3 months without judging the result. Make the choice if you wish.
Mhm.
You don't, I mean, you can choose whatever you like. I'm just saying it does take a choice. It does take commitment of action, discipline,
Yeah.
but there is such value in it. Oh my gosh. I can't speak highly enough for the value of meditation and for the treasure trove that is awaiting there that nobody, like, there's a Rumi quote that I just love. I have to say it every time I get the chance. You wander from room to room, hunting for the diamond necklace that's already around your neck.
Mm. Chills.
So why go out in the world and worry about all the millions of things when you already have the diamond necklace around your neck? Like you don't need to do that. So I'm not saying it's like instantaneous type of thing,
Right.
although it can be. If you fully let go and are fully alert and present, it is instantaneous. In any event, it's important that we take that time to find that space. And maybe another version of that, not to muddy the water because it is important to have explicit direction, but and a commitment to something. But also just basically what feels good for you. Like how can you nurture yourself? It sounds so simple, but if you like you basically intuitively know what you need. Maybe it's rest, but maybe you say, I can't rest. I have too many things to do. Yes, you can. You can go
All the more
find a
reason.
way to rest. Or maybe it's, I want to go for a walk or I want to watch a Netflix show. Maybe I'll be rejuvenated by going and watching a sunset.
Mm.
Go do that. Like listen to yourself. Listen to what your deeper you and your body are asking for. Maybe your body is saying, I really shouldn't eat those chips. They don't make me feel good. Okay, don't eat the chips. Like I know it sounds so simple and it's not easy because of all the way that we get form associated and pulled on.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying that when we listen to that authentic, real voice, even when it's hard, oh, we can be strengthened to be able to face the challenges of the world.
Yes. Love that. And back to your analogy about the soundboard, how
Yeah.
much do you believe that we can shift that or raise the octave, so to speak?
Yeah, very much. I mean, you are actually entirely in control at the deepest levels. Practically speaking, at the human level, we get lost in all sorts of density. But the important point to note there is the present moment is your moment of power, and you are not limited in the ways that you think you are. Like the way that how do I put this? We lose our power into belief of limitation that we think is very real, but it isn't.
Mm.
So, as an example, like a very simple example, this is so simple, and everybody, like 99.9% of humans, are thinking this all the time. I'm in the body, I'm in the world, and that's it, and this is what's real, and this is where I am. It's simple belief. You're actually in the higher realms right now. You are. And so if you just even just fully let go of the belief that you are a human in a human body and you focus more on just your aliveness and who you really are and let go of the assumption is what I'm saying. Let go of the assumption. Even that is a shift.
Huge, could be.
Huge, huge shift. And you can do it all at once if you want. You actually, I mean, most of us have so many layers of conditioning and assumptions that we don't even know where to start, right? But the intuition's always nudging and helping us out.
Yeah.
We can let go, we can choose a new way, and whatever. So basically, intention is the tool. Like choice is the tool. A choice is how intention works through a context of potential choices. By intention, I mean, what are you actually intending in this moment? It's not about the action on the surface. It's about what you're actually intending to be doing right now, or actually intending for that other person right now, or actually intending for yourself right now, or actually intending to, you know what, I'm actually going to reclaim my power. And when I use the word intention, by the way, like there's this uh, clever exercise I saw that a channeling person perform one time when they said, okay, pick up a rock, and the person picked up a rock, and they said, okay, now intend to drop it. And they didn't drop it. And the person said, did you intend to drop it? And they said, yes. And he said, no, you didn't. If you would have intended to drop it, you would have dropped it. What you intended to do is hold on to it while thinking about intending to drop it. I'm just pointing that out because intention equals action. Okay. Like if you actually intend to do something or be something or make a choice, that's power. You can do that in any given moment. That does shift the vibrations of the soundboard very
Mm.
much.
Yeah, and we can actually intend to have a different state, whether it's
Yes.
peace or joy or whatever that which we desire to cultivate.
Yes. Oh, I gotta say something there. Yes, 100% yes. But meanwhile, you already are peace and joy. It's
Okay.
just you're holding. I mean, the reason I'm saying it like that is because it's not like, oh, I'm really sad, and so I want to go get this other thing called peace and joy because I'm gonna go pick that. It's okay if you feel like that. It's okay if that's how we feel. But the reason I'm lifting that up is because it's more like you are love and freedom and joy and power. That is the nature of consciousness. That is the nature of life.
Mm.
So of course you have permission to choose that again in
Mm.
whatever small way. It's okay if you're sick. It's okay if you're hurt. It's okay if you can't do. There's always some way. Like, how do you relate to the circumstance that has arisen? Doesn't matter how much money you have or who's physically around or the relationships you've like, look out the window, enjoy the sun. You know, have mercy on yourself in your own heart. Like what do you choose? Oh my gosh, we are so powerful. And that's one of the great misalignments of our world. The great ubiquitous misunderstanding of our world is that we're powerless. That is not true. We're connected to the source of all things that like created the reality itself. Okay. Like it's the source of all power. It doesn't have a limit. That's what we're connected to all the time. Now we have agreed to buy into and like kind of dive into, fall asleep even into a really rigorous set of constraints. So we get pretty deeply asleep and associated into form.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter.
And
Our true nature
awakening.
is formless.
Yeah. Would you describe awakening really as a process of remembering that in every now moment?
Yes. 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 Awakening is rediscovering what you really are.
Mm.
Awakening is alertness. And the reason I say alertness is if you're truly alert, you won't even be thinking. Because thoughts are even like little dreams that aren't quite fully alert. Like
Mhm.
if you really are completely alert and present, you'll feel that love, that preciousness, I'll put it that way, that you are.
Mm. It's beautiful. Yeah. And such great wisdom to end this incredible conversation. So, so grateful, Christian, for you coming on and sharing. This has been fascinating. I'd love to have you back on the show sometime. Um,
Sure.
can you share with listeners the name of your book and then also any ways that they might be able to go deeper with your work?
Sure. Yeah, the name of my book is A Walk in the Physical, and my website is awalkinthephysical.com. The book is available to be read online for free at the third link down on the book page. It's not about money. It is for sale on Amazon in print or ebook or on Audible in audiobook form. It's not primarily about my experience. The book is about trying to help us remember who we really are through an intellectual context, but it's about pointing us back towards what we really are. And it's not even like, and I've like physically wrote it, but it's not I don't feel like it's my book. I
Mm.
just feel like spirit brought it through. That's all.
Yeah.
And then I also have many talks on my website there. There's a talks and interviews page. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff there if anyone's interested.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been incredible. So grateful for you, Christian, and to everyone listening so much.
Thank you for the transparent. You said before we started recording, I asked what's your passion? What are you doing? And you said transparency, and I love that word.
Mm.
So thank you for the transparency that you were facilitating, because like what we're talking about is getting transparent through all the stuff that we're not, through all the illusion, and reminding each other what's real. It's so cool if we can do that. So thank you so much for doing that here.